two rivers join to form the Tennessee, the Holston and the French Broad. Here's where they meet, just above Knoxville, Tennessee. From this point, it is 652 miles to Paducah, Kentucky, where the Tennessee flows into the Ohio. A number of major tributaries help to drain the 40,600 square miles of the Tennessee watershed, a basin which includes parts of 7 states. There's a rainfall here ranging from 50 to 80 inches a year. These rivers and a myriad of smaller streams tap a richly diversified area. The Tennessee Valley is a fair cross-section of our country. Some problems of other regions are absent here. Others are more acute than elsewhere. But in the main, the problems of the valley are the problems of America. And here comes the outline of the Tennessee Valley, the area in which President Roosevelt asked Congress to establish a demonstration in national planning. Let us examine some of the conditions the President is determined to correct. Of course, such poverty as this is not universal in the valley, but it exists, and all too frequently, not only in the Tennessee Valley, but throughout the length and breadth of our land. Here is regimentation with a vengeance, the regimentation of poverty. Sometimes the outlook becomes so hopeless that men actually abandon their farms. Here is where one did. The principal reason for abandoning farms is soil erosion. Torrential rains cut deep gullies, washing away the soil and destroying the growing power of the land. And floods have taken their toll in human misery, besides destroying millions of dollars in property every year. These are some of the reasons why President Roosevelt asked Congress to create the Tennessee Valley Authority. He had in mind the tremendous national investment lying idle at Muscle Shoals, 2 huge nitrate plants built as wartime emergency measures, and Wilson Dam and Powerhouse, begun during the World War, but left virtually idle until the coming of the TVA. He believes that these objectives, when realized, will not only bring about the economic and social well-being of the people living in the valley, but also point the way for similar advances throughout the rest of the country. Actual construction operations start with the building of a cofferdam. These watertight compartments enclose a portion of the river. When they are pumped dry, the workers begin excavating for bedrock. In this cofferdam at Norris, excavation is complete and the placing of concrete has begun. A wall is rising here 265 feet high and 210 feet thick at the base. The authority was fortunate in finding a quarry, which you see on the left, of hard dolomite limestone, admirably suited for making concrete. Now let's get up closer to the quarry and show you, from start to finish, a straight-line operation, which converts this hillside into high-grade concrete. First, the soil is sluiced off, much as in placer mining. There's a pressure there of 175 pounds per square inch. Then the drillers move in and prepare the exposed rock for blasting. When everything is ready, the signal is given, the workers leave the quarry, and there he goes. If that big one goes over the edge. No, not quite. And here comes another. Electric shovels move in as soon as the smoke is cleared and start the rock on its way to the crusher. There. That did it. It's a relief to ease that one down. Heavily laden with this all-important dolomite rock, these trucks leave the scene of the blast and wind their way through the quarry to the primary crusher, where the truck tilts and dumps its load into the waiting maw below. Shape and size of rock mean nothing to this crusher. Its job is to reduce everything to stones not over 6 inches through. And it does this with a slight gyratory motion of that spindle in the center there. This crusher is embedded in the hillside, and it drops the crushed stone onto an endless conveyor belt which crosses the Guyana rise to deliver its load to the secondary crusher standing just between those two conveyor belts. The conveyor in the background comes from the primary crusher on the far hillside. Here the stone is reduced to various sizes, 3 inches and under, and poured onto the lower belt, which takes it to the screening plant. It is sorted into 4 sizes by passing it over these screens. The screens deposit the aggregate in 4 piles under the screening trestle. Underneath these storage piles is a concrete tunnel with electrically operated gates in the roof and a belt conveyor to carry any desired size forward. Stone too fine for the stockpiles is taken over this belt to be cracked into sand in a hammer mill. Then it is screened into 2 sizes and washed free of all impurities. Finally, the sand is carried out on that belt at the left and dumped into storage piles over the recovery tunnel. Meanwhile, cement in bulk is taken from this 6,000-barrel storage tank at the railroad 5 miles away and carried to a similar bin at the dam. The way leads over a heavy-duty concrete highway built by the TVA to transport materials and equipment to the site. The road winds through beautiful wooded hills with the silhouette of the distant Cumberland Mountains beyond. When the dam is complete, the road will cross the crest to form a permanent part of Tennessee's highway system. All these operations come together at the Batcher, beneath which stand 3 concrete mixers, where stone, sand, and cement are turned into concrete. Scales with dials register the weights, and an operator proportions the ingredients. No, not quite enough that time. Better give it a little more. There. That's right. The batch shoots down through this funnel to charge one of the 3 mixers. This plant is electrically timed to deliver 3 cubic yards of fresh concrete every minute. When the mixture is ready, it is poured into gasoline-driven transfer cars, which carry the concrete over the shoulder of the hill to the waiting pit. These buckets hold 6 cubic yards, and there are 2 of them in operation. One of them receives a load every minute and a half, day and night. It will take 1,000,000 cubic yards to complete Norris Dam. That means 166,000 odd buckets full must be swung out into space and deposited. This bucket, now swinging through the air, has historic significance, for it contains the first concrete to be deposited at Norris Dam in July 1934. The two cableways used at Norris Dam are suspended between the head towers high on the west abutment and the tail towers 1,925 feet away across the site. A carriage runs on each cable, from which hangs a block and tackle with a massive hook to lift the concrete buckets or any other heavy object the engineers wish to have moved. An operator in each head tower controls the full operation of his cableway. It is a simple matter for him to raise and lower the hook, to run the carriage out and back, or to move his head and tail tower up or downstream at will. The main cable is anchored securely at each end. Here's a cross-section showing the 175 separate strands of steel wire, which give the cable a breaking strength of 1,100,000 pounds. When Mrs. Franklin D. Roosevelt visited Norris Dam, she was keenly interested in the operation of the cableway. After inspecting the controls inside the head tower, she went into detail with Chairman Arthur E. Morgan of the Tennessee Valley Authority, who, with his fellow directors, Dr. Harper A. Morgan and David E. Lilienthal, guides the activities of the authority. Mrs. Roosevelt counted herself fortunate in being given a ride out over the site in the man cage, hooked onto the cableway in place of a concrete bucket. A delicate operation in the construction of Norris Dam was the placing of 20-foot steel tubes, known as penstocks, to pass the water through the dam into the turbines. Here they are, attaching both cables to the first section of penstock to be placed. The signalman in the left foreground tells the two cableway operators to take it away. The cables pull taut. Those sections weigh 40 tons apiece, and keeping the two cables exactly in step called for perfect coordination. It's clear of the ground now. It's on its way. And here it is settling into its cradle in the base of the dam. When all sections of both penstocks have been completely laid, concrete will rise around them. And now this shift, which has worked 5.5 hours, is through for the day and is waiting while a new shift piles out of buses. Soon the men you see on the ground will be rolling toward the town of Norris, which serves them as a construction camp.